I think a lot of us are always reserving and postponing our appreciation for ourselves to a future self instead of giving the appreciation for where we are right now and who we are right now, right? We say to ourselves, when we start making a certain amount of money, once we start driving a certain car, once we get that job or career, once we get that relationship, once we lose a certain amount of weight, that's when we will truly begin to appreciate ourselves, right? And not only is our appreciation for ourselves based on a future which simply does not exist, but it's also contingent on external circumstances and external accolades, right? And see, here's the thing. Nothing external can determine your value. Nothing external can be the reason why you're valuable. I think we live in a world in which, we're sort of always looking to external achievements and external accolades to sort of validate and affirm ourselves, right? Let's say a guy, finally becomes a doctor, finally goes to medical school and residency and becomes a doctor, right? And in his mind, he believes that now that he's a doctor, he's finally valuable, without realizing that he became a doctor simply because of the value that he already had within, simply because of the value that was already right here. And so him becoming a doctor was merely a reflection of the value that he always had within him, right? And even if someone was to say that, he had to, sort of study and pass exams, so on and so forth, well, there was something within him that was capable of not only, acquiring the knowledge and holding on to the knowledge, right, but applying it as well. And that is the true definition of value, right? That is the true testament of value. And once you begin to realize these things, you begin to realize that you can give yourself appreciation wherever you are in your journey, wherever you are in your life. You can give yourself appreciation or gratitude despite not having the things that you desire, despite not being where you are in your life, despite not becoming or being the person that you desire to be. You can give appreciation, to yourself and for yourself in the here and now. Your appreciation for yourself doesn't have to be based on external things, because your state of being, who you are right now, your intrinsic value is worthy of appreciation, right? There was a point in my life, and I sort of had to grow from this, right? I don't know where, I sort of had this idea or certain ideologies. I think we adopt certain things, just based on our society in general. But there was a point in my life in which I thought that my appreciation for myself and my self-love and my confidence had to be based on external things, right? I had to sort of have a certain body type, which is why I started working out in the first place, which I don't regret. Or I sort of had to start making a certain amount of money, so on and so forth, to sort of appreciate it myself, right? But the more I grew and the more wisdom I acquired, the more I realized that my state of being, my existence, me literally being here, right, is already a testament to the value that I hold within. My existence is already proof of my value. The simple fact that I exist means that I'm worthy of appreciation, right? Despite where I'm at, despite what I have, I can, appreciate myself, and I can be confident in myself right here and right now, right? Because my state of being, my existence is already proof of my value. I said this in one of my outdoor videos recently, and I said that, as human beings, we sort of look around us and we see, nature, right? We see the world, right? The trees, the sun, the water, oceans, lakes, so on and so forth. And deep down, we see value in these things. Deep down, we see value, intrinsic value in these different expressions of nature, right? But the irony of this is, right, we look around us and we see value in those different expressions of nature, but we look at ourselves and we don't see value in ourselves intrinsically, without realizing that we are just as much of an expression of nature as any other expression of nature. We are just as much of a part of this thing that we call life and existence, just as much as any other expression, right? We hold intrinsic value just as how the sun holds intrinsic value. We hold intrinsic value just as how the oceans and the lakes hold intrinsic value. And our value doesn't have to be based on what we do and what we achieve. It can just be based on our being. It can be based in the simple fact that we exist. Our existence is enough proof of our value. I think a lot of us go to the world and we constantly feel as if we're not enough. Constantly feel as if, we're unworthy, right? And if your appreciation for yourself is always based on the external, then to some degree you're always going to feel unworthy. If you look at your life and you look at yourself and you believe you don't have enough, or you haven't acquired enough or achieved enough, or you believe that you haven't sort of become a certain person that you envision in your mind, then you're always going to feel unworthy. If you don't think you have enough or you have achieved enough, then you're going to think you're not enough, right? It sort of gets into this place in which we're always continuously chasing, we're always continuously grinding and, toiling. And we never truly take the time to look at ourselves and appreciate ourselves, right? We never truly take the time to look at where we are, seeing the growth that we've made, and appreciate ourselves, right? We're always in this continuous rat race. We're always in this continuous, cycle of striving and toiling. And we never truly slow down and appreciate where we are right now in our lives. A lot of us have made significant growth, right? A lot of us have made so much growth in our lives. And simply because we have a vision or an idea of where we want to be, we don't even take the time to appreciate that growth. We don't even take the time to realize how far we've made it, right? Because we feel as if we haven't achieved enough or we haven't acquired enough. But it doesn't matter where you are right now in your life. It doesn't matter what you have right now. It doesn't matter if you've become the person that you desire to be, right? It doesn't matter if you have that car. It doesn't matter if you've lost a certain amount of weight. You're worthy of appreciation right here and right now. And I'm not saying, I know a lot of people are going to watch this video and think I'm promoting stagnation, right? Definitely not. If you watch my previous videos, I've always talked about growth and expansion and continuing to move forward, right? But at the same time, I think any act of moving forward, any act of going for more and striving for more has to be coupled with appreciation, has to be coupled with our ability to be present in our lives and see how far we've grown, see what is, present in our lives right now, right? And simply just appreciate ourselves overall, right? Because let's say you were to get to, a place in which you envision in your mind. Let's say you're to get to the person that you envision in your mind, or you get to the things that you want to achieve, you wouldn't even stop to, I guess, in a sense, appreciate them. You'll already be thinking of something else that you want, and you wouldn't even take the time to realize that you've made it so far. You wouldn't even take the time to realize that the same things that you once prayed for, you've already achieved them, because you're always looking to a future, right? You're always looking to the next thing without realizing that where you are right now is the best thing, right? And I think in postponing and withholding our appreciation for ourselves, we sort of deny ourselves of the love and the validation that we can give to ourselves in the present moment, right? I think a key aspect of self-love and growth and healing is appreciation for ourselves, right? You know, when I sort of look back at my life and the trajectory of my growth, obviously I haven't lived a very long life in terms of years. But when I look back at my life and the trajectory of my life, I truly began to grow and heal and move forward in the right way the moment I began to appreciate myself more, irrespective of whether or not I achieved a certain thing or had a certain thing or whatever. The more I appreciated myself, the more I healed, right? Sometimes our healing lies in just our self-appreciation. Sometimes our healing lies in just looking ourselves in the mirror and saying to ourselves, I'm proud of you. You know, looking at ourselves in the mirror and saying to ourselves, you've made it very far. Sometimes that's where our healing lies. Sometimes that's all we need, right? Giving to ourselves whatever it is that we expect from the world or whatever it is we think the world is supposed to give to us, right? If you can't appreciate yourself, then how can you look to someone else to appreciate you? If you believe that you're not good enough if you don't have a certain thing, then to some degree your self-worth and your confidence and your self-esteem will always be contingent in what you have. And I can wake up tomorrow and I can have, $1 million in my bank account the day before. And I can wake up tomorrow and that $1 million, was taken from me, right? I can have a nice physique today, a nice physique today, and something happens, some tragic, incident happens, and I no longer can keep up, the shape that I have, right? The physique that I had. Or I can be in a relationship today, and tomorrow the person leaves me. And if my appreciation for myself is always based on the external, then what happens when I lose those things? What happens when I no longer have the money that I once had? Not that I have the money. I have a lot of money right now, just the example. But what happens when I'm no longer the body type that I have right now, so on and so forth, because we do age. What happens then? Are we no longer worthy? Are we no longer worthy of appreciation? Are we no longer valuable, right? And when you think about these things, you begin to realize that your appreciation for yourself, your love for yourself has to be based on your intrinsic value, has to be based on who you are right here, right at your core, right at your being, right at your existence. That's where a true self-love and a true appreciation for yourself lies, right? All the things that we acquire, all the things that we have, they're simply masks that we put on, right? They can be fun, they can be fun. Having that car is fun, having that job is fun, having a nice body is nice to have, and all these things. Having that relationship, it's nice to have somebody. But to some degree, all those things are simply just things that we add on to ourselves. If you peel back all those layers, and if you peel back all those external things, the true testament of who you are is something that you can't even grasp. It's something that is always, the same. It's unchanging, right? It's unchangeable, right? It's ever present despite how we look and what we have. And I think the more we get down to the root of our being, the more we get down to the root of the presence that exists within us, our soul, right? And we appreciate ourselves just for existing, just for being here. To me, that is true self-love. To me, that is true self-worth, right? Appreciating your existence, right? The fact that you exist is enough proof of the fact that you're valuable. And I think we live in a world that always sort of tells us that we need to sort of become someone that is worthy of appreciation, right? And a lot of us still have this programming in our minds, and I still have it as well. I still have it. I'm definitely worked through it. I can say I'm further along on my journey of appreciating my being than, some people, not to compare, but I'm still working through, sifting through those layers and going through those layers, peeling back all those layers, and simply appreciating myself for my existence and for my being, right? It's something that I'm working on every single day. But the more I wake up, the more I go, the more I live my everyday life. I wake up in the morning and I journal, I meditate, I affirm myself where I'm right now in my life. The more I feel at peace, the lighter I feel. The more I give myself appreciation, the less I sort of look to the world for that appreciation or for that validation. The more I validate myself, the less I look to others for that validation, because I'm becoming my own source and I'm giving to myself everything that I once expected the world to give to me. And that's when you truly find freedom. As long as you keep looking to the world to validate you and sort of give you a sense of acceptance and gratitude, or as long as you believe that your appreciation for yourself is based on external things, then to some degree you're pretty much a slave. Freedom exists when you're content with who you are right now, right in the present moment. That's when true freedom exists. A lot of our discontent, a lot of our unhappiness with ourselves is simply because we believe that we haven't achieved enough, or we haven't done enough, or we are not enough, right? That's where a lot of our insecurities and our discontent with ourselves come from. But once you begin to realize that you're worthy of gratitude where you are right now in your life, that's when you truly become free. That's when you truly find happiness and joy and peace wherever you are right now in your life, right? And so I see all this to say, because I don't even want to make this a long video. It's probably already a long video. I see all this to say, start appreciating yourself right now in this present moment where you are right now, right? You don't have to wait until you acquire a certain thing or you become a certain person to feel as if you're worthy for appreciation. Your existence is enough proof that you're valuable. If you were not valuable, you wouldn't exist, because everything that is in existence is valuable. And once you begin to realize that, you begin to realize that you can give yourself appreciation, validation, and love right here and right now, right? And this reminds me sort of an Alan Watts quote, in which he says, and I'm just paraphrasing, he says, any act of sort of planning for the future has to be coupled with the ability to live in the present moment, right? Because even if you were to get to the future that you're planning for, you wouldn't even be capable of enjoying that future because you're already planning ahead in a different future. So being able to live in the present moment is a prerequisite to any sort of planning. And I think in the same way, to put it into my own words and to sort of extrapolate it to what I'm talking about in this video, any act of appreciating yourself in the future has to be coupled with the ability to appreciate yourself right here and right now. Because even if you were to get to the future self, get to acquiring the things and becoming the person that you envision in your mind, you wouldn't even be able to appreciate that person because you're already trying to become someone else. You're already trying to own something else. And once you begin to realize that, you begin to sort of apply appreciation in your daily life right here and right now. So don't wait to appreciate yourself for tomorrow and for a future. Don't wait for the then, right? Give appreciation to yourself right here and right now. And best believe when I tell you this from personal experience, it's going to change your life. Once you start appreciating yourself right here and right now, that's when, you truly begin to heal. That's when you truly begin to grow, right? Your appreciation for yourself, your gratitude for yourself, right, is the very thing that is going to cause you to blossom. Just as how you water a flower and it blossoms, the moment you begin to appreciate yourself and validate yourself and be grateful for yourself, that's when you begin to blossom as well. So thank you guys for watching. Take care of yourselves. Give yourselves a little bit of love every day, like I always say. And I will see y'all in the next one. Peace and blessings.